Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo?
Who is Dr.
Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo?
I am Dr. Destroyo.
From the Death by Media Man podcast show, it's Dr. Destroyo. The story of the world's first true supervillain. We're telling Dr. Destroyo in sequence every 2 weeks. So if you haven't listened to the first episodes, go back and start there. Then, this will all make a lot more sense. Chapter 25. What if your whole life was a lie? What if it was a myth or an illusion crafted to keep you from knowing the truth? What if all your senses were blind to the trap you were in because you were in a trap the size of the universe, a trap disguised as everything you would ever encounter, every literal thing? What then? In another world, I was the protagonist, the lone rebel outsider type. It wasn't hard to imagine. I was the one who kept to his own, a hard-done-by hero from the wrong side of town, hell-bent on doing the right thing for the whole city, and eventually the whole damn world. Yeah, I saved everybody. I saved the whole planet. But even my enemies had friends, and eventually they all teamed up and came looking for me. Crime bosses from other star systems. Gang leaders who ruled the endless lands that exist between microscopic measurements. Dark gods who were overseeing creeping kings who were ruling over shadowy nights. They came looking for me, and they plucked me up out of my life and out of my world, and they formed a whole new one for me. They wiped my memory and stuck me in a womb. I emerged in a world where there was nothing super. No heroes to inspire the common people, and no villains to necessitate the building of bigger and better heroes. There were no meta-sciences. There was no magic. Everything that was super or extra was a myth, a story, a fiction. That truth kept us quiet and complacent. Those of us who were left. Those of us with the echoes of the lives of heroes flickering behind our eyes. I was raised by normal people who taught me the confines of a normal life. I lived in a normal world where you just work and eat and sleep and shit and die, and nothing special ever happens. Nobody flies. Nobody shoots lightning from their eyes. There were no blue-skinned women who'd walk without touching the ground. No tiger children with claws for fingers and mouths full of fangs. Nothing was ever epic, and nothing was ever special. Nothing ever happens around here. My life is a trap. It disguises my potential and possibility. But someday, all those lost heroes are going to come back. And they're going to come for me. They'll come looking and find me here. They'll find me waiting. They'll show up at my window, the great heroes, the proud ones, in their fine costumes, with their blazing eyes and voices that can crush steel with a whisper. You have to come with us, they'll say. You have to leave this false life behind and come with us to save the world. And I'll step up to my window, and I'll look out at them with their glowing eyes and magic jewelry, flying suits of armor, and technology from other worlds. When I close my eyes, I can see myself standing before them. I can feel the wind in my face. I can feel their strange energies radiating against my skin. And then I step up to the window and out through it. I step out into the night and towards my destiny. I get to become something else. Something I really was beneath all those years of failure and mediocrity. Something I was always supposed to be. There's another world out there. I almost saw it once, and now it's come back for me. And these super people, they're not just warriors, they're rescuers, recruiters. And they're coming to save me. But it's just a dream. I wake up, and it all drifts away. Chapter 26. With the life of Mr. Scorpio, we saw the birth of the true costumed crime fighter. And with his death, we saw the birth of the first true supervillain. If we stop now, then that is the world we live in. We live in a world where evil slays good and goes on to laugh about it. But I'm gonna say it here and now. This is not that world. Not the world I live in. The world I live in is a place where good people stand tall against the actions of the unjust. Where people are not scared to put on a costume and defend the defenseless. This world is not a myth or an illusion. It does not exist only in comic books or in movies. It is this world, the world you and I live in. And it's going to get better. I swear it to you, and I swear it to Mr. Scorpio. My name is Rex Challenge. And with your help, I'm going to make this world a better place. Fucking seriously? This dude was some kind of a viral video phenomenon. The clip he'd released was just a static shot of him in his costume talking into the camera. There'd been dozens just like it. Wannabe heroes swearing that Mr. Scorpio would be avenged. But this guy was somehow the epitome of what they were all striving to be. His video was getting over 10 times the views of any other wannabe's manifesto. And this guy didn't look like a wannabe. Rex Challenge was a big, handsome lug with an overabundance of personal charisma, which made him the closest thing the costume crime-fighting clique had to a genuine superhuman. He smiled broadly and he wore no mask. He had thick, wavy blonde hair and a big, strong jaw and clear blue eyes. His costume looked more like a fancy yellow and black military uniform with a large golden O in the center. The O stands for unity, the jackass had declared proudly in one of his videos. But honestly, for me, it's not about symbolism. Big smile at the cameras. It's about action. I couldn't stomach his material, but the internet was eating him up and shitting out rainbows of praise. And honestly, I had no one to blame but myself. I'd given the people a villain, something to be genuinely scared of. Dr. Destroyo had been seen to die twice, and maybe he was still out there somewhere. So now, people were looking for something else to believe in. They needed somebody else they could call up to ward off the boogeyman in the night. And supposedly, that was going to be Rex Challenge. Near as anybody could tell, Rex Challenge wasn't even an alias, the idea of which made me feel like I was going to be sick. How is that a real name? Who calls their child something like that? He'd had surgery, I was sure of it. Nothing in nature needed to have a chin like Rex Challenge. He looked like he was probably a little over 6 feet tall and weighed around 200 pounds at a guess. Basically, he looked like a big guy who was in shape. But at the same time, he wasn't too big. A few of those online costume guys, you could tell from their photos that they were juicing themselves up pretty good. Steroids and stuff like that. But not Rex Challenge. He had the sort of sharply lean build a gymnast would want. He looked less like a man in a costume and more like the real thing. whatever that was. He was based out of New York City, which put him a good distance away from me, but he sounded like he was willing to travel. He wanted to be known, that much was obvious. You could see it in his smile. You could see how pleased he was with himself and how truly he believed in what he was saying. When he smiled, I knew that I would have hated him, even if he hadn't just been seemingly self-created just to hassle me. It shouldn't have bothered me. I didn't even really know why it did. How did it matter? This guy didn't know who I was or why I'd done the things I had. Nobody knew who I was. But I knew. Rex's challenge didn't bother me, but everything else bothered me. Being a murderer bothered me. Losing my roommate and friend bothered me. Rex's challenge didn't bother me. I kept telling myself that over and over again. But he sure bugged the fuck out of Dr. Destroyo. Which meant that eventually, something was going to have to happen.
Dr. Destroyo is written and produced by Hank Pattison for the Death by Media Man podcast channel. You can subscribe to the Death by Media Man podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. If you enjoyed this, please leave us a like or a comment and tell a friend. And if you'd like to support the Death by Media Man channel with your money, there's a link to our Patreon in the description of this program. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next installment of Dr. Destroyo.